Welcome back. The Nkabinde Inquiry took a dramatic turn on Friday as a series of graphic videos allegedly showing torture, a dying suspect being denied medical help, and crime scene tampering were played before the panel. This intensified pressure on National Director of Public Prosecutions Shamila Batohi to explain why the evidence was never escalated or interrogated by her office. The footage supplied by former Cato Manor Unit member and police reservist turned whistleblower Eris Danikas played a central role in her cross-examination by advocate Nkabinde, who was representing suspended South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions Andrew Chauke. For more, we are joined by Andy Mashaile, who's a security strategist. Mr. Mashaile, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time, as always. And before we even get to that graphic visuals and footage that we saw coming out of the inquiry, I just wanted to take it back a bit. You know, we saw a testy, sometimes irritable advocate Shamila Batohi. We saw before this inquiry, before we get into the contents of what actually transpired, I want you to talk to me about what you made of her demeanor.
Very disturbing, Masa. Good evening to you and to the Heavyweight Show viewers. Very disturbing, very distasteful, unhelpful to the cause of the NDPP. In my line of work, Masa, I do strategic analysis across the board, taking into usage of the social media. And when you look at the comments, it told you that a lot of people were disappointed in how the NDPP carried herself with regard to responding to questions. When asked questions, I can't recall, I don't remember, that's not what I'm saying. Some evasive types of responding, which really left us with no confidence in the process of the last 5 years of the NPA under her leadership.
Yeah, I mean, at some point also, the chairperson had to almost reprimand her to let advocate Nkabinde just complete her sentences as well. But just going to the videos, you know, the chilling videos that were provided by Mr. Danikas, I mean, that shocked many people. And advocate Batohi maintains that she'd never seen the videos, while it was stressed that they were sent to her office with supporting evidence. What did you make of those videos and the alleged text messages as well, in particular those WhatsApp messages from Major General Johan Boysen to Mr. Danikas as well?
Number one, Masa, the buck stops with the NDPP. The buck cannot stop with the PA or the executive assistants. Let's go there. Number two, the SMS messages that were sent through by the whistleblower to the office of the NDPP really should have been a serious cause for concern by the NDPP to make sure that there is a response to what the whistleblower or the witness was saying. And the messages, the content of the messages from Major General Johnson, allegedly so, showed me a chilling side to this story. If you can send a message that says, you tried your luck with your daughter, with my daughter, and I would have effed you up, something like that, really showed some serious intimidation, crossing of the line, intimidation, defeating the ends of justice, suggesting that someone should have, you didn't do a good job by cutting your wrist. Something like saying you should have died, even though it is not as raw as we are putting it and as put by advocate Nkabinde. I must take off my hat to the senior counsel, Nkabinde. Very precise, rapid fire, getting straight to the point. Even if there was no response that came from the NDPP, my own conclusion was the NDPP is not telling the truth here, or the NDPP is telling untruths in line with the new lingo, Masa, where we talk about untruths and not telling the truth or half-truths.
Yeah, different versions of the truth certainly coming out. Now, just staying with that as well, talking about the contents of that WhatsApp message between the witness as well as turned whistleblower as well as Major General Johan Boysen. The fact when Advocate Toby says, look, the witness was told by an accused that they should have essentially slit their wrists, that the witness was told by the accused that they shouldn't, that they are a coward for not coming back to South Africa and facing the music, when he knew why the witness had actually fled the country in the first place. But what was interesting, Mr. Mashaile, was that Advocate Batohi took a while to get to concede to the point that this was indeed witness tampering or witness intimidation, and said she would need the whole context before she could agree to it.
Masa, if the NDPP was not pressed, there was no more fire put in her spot or directly in her position or direction, she would not have considered, and we would have been left with an egg on our faces as those who have established the inquiry. We would have been left with an understanding that the witness is lying and the accused is correct, and the NDPP, which is Shamila Batohi, never knew of these things. And I am going to repeat what I said when I opened up to your question. The buck stops with the NDPP. You are supposed to know everything as the CEO that goes on in your organization, because we, the people of the country, have invested in the NPA to do what we want, which is generate justice, ensure that there's prosecution, ensure that there is incarceration at the end of the day after the decisions of the judicial officers being magistrates and judges.
So going on with the buck stops with the NDPP, when Advocate Shamila Batohi says she never actually saw those videos, they may have been sent to her office, but she wasn't privy to them. But she set up a panel knowing that there are these videos that exist. She just didn't watch them. What are we to make of that?
The question, your response that says to me, you just didn't watch them, is sending me in a wrong direction, Masa, because you having had delegated people to watch those videos, those people owe you a report, be it verbal or written. And that report would say, the videos are horrific, the videos are chilling. We saw someone being denied the right to life, and we saw someone being denied an opportunity to be in an ambulance to the hospital. You were supposed to have stood up to say, what? Show me that video. And we didn't do that, or the NDP didn't do that. And this suggests to both you and I, Masa, and the viewer, that the NDPP, in my understanding, given that set of evidence, says to me, she really did not have interest in that matter from a way and manner that would provide a better insight into what happened before, during, and after that victim was denied the right to life as a result of being shot.
Yeah, and she maintained there's nothing untoward about watching those videos. But I want to move on to the case of the 16-year-old Kwazi Ndlovu, and that was a chilling testimony as well. And as Advocate Toby concluded, saying that the evidence shows that Kwazi was not a wanted suspect. They got to the wrong house and shot the wrong person, which Advocate Batohi conceded to based off the evidence. But the question still remains, why was it allowed for this evidence to be suppressed in the first place? There's clear evidence from a ballistics expert, which seems to be blatantly ignored as well.
Masa, these are some of the things that would really make one very angry. We know that crime has been committed. We know that the ends of justice have been defeated. And yet we arrive at inquiries of this nature, knowing very well that some of these things have been intentionally suppressed. and or unintentionally suppressed. But once again, the backstopping with you, I was a little bit disturbed for that evidence to have been suppressed. It suggested to me that there's someone that we didn't want to prosecute. There's someone that we didn't want to see going to jail for reasons best known to the NDPP and his lower downs.
You know, another important...
And lower downs, yes.
Just another important element that has been brought to the fore from this inquiry is the conduct of some prosecutors in the NPA. A claim that prosecutors were defeating the ends of justice and even attempting to force victims' families, such as the Ndlovus, to settle for inquests in the murder investigation. What has this inquiry told us about some prosecutors in the NPA and how they conduct themselves?
Let me illustrate it in very serious terms. We have seen some satanic conduct by some of those prosecutors who were named or who will still be named as the inquiry proceeds. These are some of the evil things that should not happen, where Masa or Andy, who doesn't have an understanding of the law and what to do and where to get help in the event of this nature, where they would seek relief in getting justice done for their family members or the victims of the from their families. This is very serious, Masa. And one would then say, if this is happening or was happening for the past 5 years under the leadership of the NDPP, it means the system is as rotten as all other systems that we have seen. But the challenge here would have been, because we don't know the ins and outs of the system, how the system operates, the modus operandi of the system. We saw the system as doing justice. But when you listen to the inquiry and Tatenguga Toby asking very probing questions, you realize that something is very, very, very wrong with the system.
Just in closing, what kind of legacy do you think Advocate Shamila Batohi leaves now? She was celebrated as well for being the first head of the NDPP, female head of the NDPP. And now she's coming to the end of her tenure next month, and this comes out. How would you characterize her legacy now?
Like all other NDPPs who left under a controversy, who left under colors that were not showing a perfection in the system, colors that are troublesome to our eyes and troublesome to our spirit. In my understanding and in my own view, Masa, having had listened to her response to the questions from Bommebes Nkabinde, the Justice Ingabinde, and all others sitting in that inquiry, honestly, I am disappointed, and I'm certain that many South Africans who have been following this inquiry would leave her conduct would leave a bitter taste in our mouths and in the mouths of those families whose some of their members were victims of criminality and crime, and there was no relief for them.
Andy Mashaile, always a pleasure to get your insights. Really appreciate your time on News at Prime this evening.